Satnam Yogis, I'm Kelliann. Thank you for joining me for this video, which is a primer for my Kundalini Yoga class for everybody, which is happening weekly on Sundays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, beginning Sunday, September 6th at 4 p.m. And so I wanted to put together this video, again, as a primer, and just to let you know some of the things that you may not have encountered in other styles of yoga. So if you've never done Kundalini before, this is a great place for you to start, just get some ideas of what to expect. And we'll also go through some of the props and tools that we can use in class to make every posture possible for everybody. So that is why we are here. And so let's get started with just some primer. So just wanted to bring forth a few things that are a little different in Kundalini Yoga than some other styles of yoga you may have tried. So the first thing is that we are mostly on the floor. This position that I'm sitting in right now, on the floor, legs crossed, is called easy pose, and many times our postures are coming out of easy pose or are in easy pose. And it's funny that it's called easy pose, but easy pose is not actually easy for everyone to sit in. We'll go over again some of the props to use to make it more accessible for everyone, and we'll do that a little bit later. But we are mostly on the floor in Kundalini Yoga, so just have that in the back of your head. If you have a difficult time being on the floor, the props will help a lot. But another thing that you can do is to have, of course, your yoga mat, which we'll talk about in a bit too. But you can also have a few extra blankets laid out on your mat. You can get an extra thick yoga mat, which is really helpful as well, and it can make things a lot more comfortable being on the floor. That being said, if you're on the floor and you begin to feel uncomfortable, utilizing those props is a really great way to continue. Also, just taking a moment to stretch the legs out, maybe move them back and forth a little bit so that they feel a little bit better, and then coming back into the position. So you'll hear me say this a lot. You'll hear me say it in this video. You'll hear me say it in class, but listening to your body is the most important thing that you can do. So if you're uncomfortable, make yourself comfortable. It's really that simple. So what else can we expect out of Kundalini Yoga? Well, the practice is primarily done with the eyes closed. Again, something a little bit different from other styles you may have encountered. But the beauty in that is that the practice is always between you and you. You never have to worry about what someone next to you is doing or what someone on the screen in class with you is doing. No one is glancing at you. You're not glancing at anyone else because the eyes are closed. Now, of course, exception for looking at the instructor and seeing what the pose is that we're doing, or if you have any questions, of course. But mostly we have our eyes closed. So I'm going to close my eyes right now. And when we close our eyes, and you can do this along with me, we bring our gaze, which means that, if your eyes were open, your eyes would move into this position, but they are closed. But we bring our gaze inward and upward so that it's almost as if we are looking to the space right between the brows. We call that the third eye point. So you'll hear me say that in class as well. Gaze inward and upward at the third eye point. So that's something that you'll hear a lot, and we will have our gaze in that position for much of our practice. It may feel a little strange at first if you've never done it, but I promise that you will get used to it. Okay, so what else can we expect? Well, we breathe in and out through the nose in Kundalini Yoga, unless there's some other instruction as to how to breathe. So we are always breathing in and out through the nose. And the reason that we do that is yogis say that it stimulates some very important nerve endings at the nasal point. We'll get into those another time, but that is why primarily our breath is in and out through the nose. Now let's talk for a moment about mantra. If you've never heard of mantra or done mantra before, mantra is really a repetition of sound that we utilize for many different energetic reasons. So mantra, or internal mantra, is something that we use all the time in Kundalini Yoga. The internal mantra that we use most often is Sat Nam. Sat Nam. Now, Sat Nam means truth is my identity. Truth is who I am. And we'll go a lot into what that means. What does that mean? What is our truth? We'll go into that in class. But understanding and knowing that Sat Nam brings you back into the present moment that you are in. And a mental mantra can really help us if we find meditation, yoga, and concentration to be difficult. It really helps to focus our mind while we're in our practice. So, for example, we may have our eyes closed with our gaze inward and upward at the third eye point. And as we inhale and exhale through the nose, as we inhale, we think the sound Sat, and we exhale thinking the sound Nam. And all of these beautiful focal points really help keep us centered and grounded in our practice. So it's just a little something to look forward to. So let's talk a little bit about modifying and props and tools and all the things that you can use to help make any Kundalini Yoga session one that works for you and your body specifically. So the first we already kind of mentioned, and that's the yoga mat. So I'm sitting on just kind of a standard yoga mat. We really do need a yoga mat because it's made out of a very specific material that helps us with poses. It helps keep us from slipping and sliding around when we try to do different postures. So having a yoga mat is really very, very important. That being said, every other tool and prop that we're going to look at today is not necessary, and there are household items that you can use instead of the actual prop we're looking at, and I'll try to give you some examples of that. So you have your yoga mat. Now, this is a standard thickness yoga mat. They also, there are lots of thicker yoga mats as well that you can purchase or find for yourself. You can also double up on your yoga mat if you need a little bit more cushion there. Another prop that we're going to look at that I find them all invaluable in one way or another, but this is the first one, and this is a bolster pillow. Now, this is very specifically a yoga bolster pillow, but as the name indicates, it's a pillow. You can take your couch cushion. You can take a bedroom pillow. You do want it to have firmness, however, because we're going to be using it and it's going to need to hold to the weight of your body. So the first thing I'm going to show you to do with this is to sit on it. So if you find easy pose really difficult to maintain and you find your hips feel too stretched or they just don't kind of want to cooperate, you can sit up on your bolster pillow. Raises your hips up a little higher than your knees, and this very often is a much more comfortable position for people when we're in easy pose. You can be on this pillow for most of our practice when we're doing anything sitting in easy pose. So if this feels good to you, then by all means, please use it. A few other ways that we can use a bolster pillow or a yoga pillow is when we are sitting on the knees. Now, I don't always sit on my knees. It's not comfortable for me, but sometimes I do, and I can use this pillow either over the top of the back of my feet, so I'm kind of sitting on the pillow in between my bottom and my feet, or you can actually put it between the legs and sit on it this way. And so you may want to experiment with that and see if one of those feels comfortable for you. Also, any position that we talk about being on the knees can always be done in easy pose. Always, always. So that's our first prop. Love my bolster pillow. There's lots of other ways we can use it as well. The second one I want to show you is a yoga strap. And if you don't have a yoga strap or you don't want to spend any money, you can use a necktie. You can use a towel, but I would say kind of maybe a beach towel, something that's kind of thin. You don't want a big bulky towel. It's just going to kind of get in your way. So let's see. What are we going to do with the strap? So the strap can help us in lots of different ways. If we have our arms up, we can use the strap to help us do that, especially if they need to go back and you have a limited range of motion. This can be very helpful. Can also use it when we do poses that ask us to come over the legs or stretch through the legs. So for example, you can loop it around your feet here. And if we were to fold over the legs, you could use your strap as some leverage to get to a nice stretch at the back of the leg that you can feel. And that might feel more comfortable than just coming over and grabbing at your ankles or your shins. So you can use the strap in that way as well. Let's see. There's other poses on occasion where you'll need to bend over one leg. And again, you can use this as leverage as needed. And sometimes we even lift the leg, and the strap is super helpful for that as well. Lots of different ways to use your yoga strap. So the last prop that I want to show you are yoga blocks. Yoga blocks are very lightweight foam blocks, very sturdy, but very lightweight. And we use these anytime you need to bring the ground closer to you. That's how I like to put it. So my favorite example, I think, would be a bowing pose. So, or maybe even extended child's pose, where we would come down and we would put our forehead to the mat. Now, this may not feel comfortable for you, and so you can take your block, one or two, and then you just bring the earth to you. And you can still be in this pose and not have to be all the way down to the mat. Another really neat one is for a pose called camel, which is a more advanced pose, but with our blocks, I like to put them right on my calves here. With our blocks, we have a lot more leverage, and we're able to stretch backward and get the maximum that we can out of the pose by using the block. So a good substitute for a yoga block is a little hard to find, mostly because of the combination of it being so lightweight, but also very firm. So I would say that if you had to spend, or you could spend a little bit of money on some props for yourself, go with the blocks. They're very, very inexpensive. And I would say that everything else can be substituted, and the block is a little bit harder to do that with. Okay, so all of that being said, I'm just going to reiterate something that I said at the beginning, and that is to listen to your body. Only you know if a stretch feels uncomfortable. And when I say uncomfortable, I mean there's a difference between a stretch feeling uncomfortable and you know that's because it's new to you, or uncomfortable verging on the edge of painful and perhaps even moving toward hurting yourself. We all have to reconcile that difference within us. So these props and tools are meant to help us to do all of those things without hurting ourselves, but with also pushing beyond our boundaries and allowing ourselves to really get into each of the poses as they're meant to be. So I hope this video has been helpful, and I certainly hope to see you in class. I'm going to leave the link for the class down in the description as well, and also links for different props. Now, those links are not an affiliation of any kind. It's really just to give you an idea of what you're looking for when you're shopping for these props, if that's something that you want to do. So again, I hope to see you all in class. I hope that this video has found you very well, and we'll see each other soon. Satnam.